2:46 a.m. The first explosion hits before anyone understands what's burning. A fuel truck, parked between Hangar 3 and the main runway at Thule Air Base, turns into a white-orange column that punches through the polar dark. The air temperature is -30, but the blast rolls heat across the ice. Snow liquefies for half a second, then flash freezes again. The pressure wave rattles the control tower windows and sets off motion sensors across the flight line. Sergeant Lee in the ops room sees every screen blink white, then black. For 7 seconds, the radar feed vanishes. In that blackout, 30 unknown heat signatures appear near the eastern fence line, moving at a steady 6 kilometers per hour. Their outlines match ground crew profiles. Nobody raises a weapon. 2:48. The emergency siren struggles against the wind, stuttering on half power. The runway lights go into emergency pulse mode, one every 3 seconds, casting strobe shadows over the tarmac. 2 automated M134 mounts swivel toward the blast zone, then freeze mid-rotation when their IFF filters pick up friendly codes. On camera 3, figures move through the drifting smoke, their breath visible as silver streaks in the IR feed. Captain Ward in the tower confirms maintenance team on site, repeating what the computer has tagged. He doesn't know the beacon signal is a copy from a snow tractor that should be 50 kilometers away. The base's security net adjusts priority. Fire containment first, intruder detection second, 0249. In Hangar 2, Staff Sergeant Lemaire is trying to pull a tarp over a damaged F-35A. His helmet cam catches 2 silhouettes approaching through the haze, both wearing Arctic maintenance suits with reflective stripes. One raises an arm, palm open, a friendly gesture. The other bends, placing a magnetic device under the aircraft's intake. The click is audible through the camera mic. Lemaire hesitates. His orders are clear. Confirm identity before engagement. The thermal patch on their suits glows the same as any ground tech. He lowers his rifle. 10 seconds later, the device emits a blue flash and the F-35's nose cone lifts off in a slow-motion bubble of fire. The concussion throws him backward into the snow. 250. Command center view. The system logs a localized mechanical detonation. Automated diagnostics assume a fuel vapor spark. The ops screen paints the entire event in orange rather than red. Malfunction, not hostile act. Ward authorizes emergency foam systems, unaware that the signal he's watching is already 6 seconds behind reality due to satellite uplink delay. The fire suppression valves open, venting a white plume across the hangar roof, reducing visibility to 0. On perimeter camera 5, figures move again, small and deliberate. They carry cylindrical charges no bigger than thermoses. The sound of rotor blades cuts through the wind. 2 small quadcopters lift from the snow, hover at 3 meters and begin mapping the access doors with laser rangefinders. 251. The snow intensifies. Visibility on the ground drops under 20 meters. The temperature sensor reads -34. The radar pulse from the main array shows several small returns over the fjord. Distance 1.8 kilometers, speed 50 knots, altitude 20 feet. The software identifies them as search and rescue drones responding to a presumed crash. No alert is issued. In the tower, Lee manually marks the radar contact, but the tag switches to green before he can query it. Friendly code confirmed. The system is referencing the same corrupted file that reclassified the intruders. By the time he rechecks the table, the signal has already jumped into the base perimeter zone. 252. Inside the perimeter, a fire truck roars to life, its headlights cutting cones through the haze. The crew of 3 starts toward Hangar 2, thinking they're responding to the earlier blast. They don't know the ignition command came from a cloned digital order. At 40 meters, the vehicle hits a planted spike strip. Tires shred instantly. The truck skids sideways, engine still running, and stops broadside. From behind a line of snowbanks, 2 figures emerge. One launches a short burst from a suppressed AK-12. 3 rounds punch through the windshield. The cab goes dark. At that same second, Ward's console registers vehicle collision, non-hostile. His algorithms believe the truck simply crashed. 253. The wind chill reaches -40. The base power grid flickers as generators trip into load share mode. The drone feed above the fjord shows 6 small snowmobiles approaching along bearing 112. Range 400 meters. Speed 60 kilometers per hour. Their transponders match Arctic Patrol Team 7, which should be returning from Coastal Watch. The Command AI accepts the match and broadcasts, Gate 1 open for recovery. Corporal Herrera at the gate sees headlights through the snow and obeys. The armored barrier retracts halfway before freezing in place. The snowmobiles slide under it at full throttle. Herrera hears engines roar past but can't tell who's driving. Everyone's in white cold weather suits. 2:54. The base siren fails entirely. Audio feedback loops through the intercom, then cuts out. At Hangar 4, Private Ochoa peers through his rifle's thermal sight. He sees 3 moving shapes at a distance of 40 meters. One carries a heavy object, likely a fuel line. He calls it in as crew evacuation. Command logs it as rescue operation underway. The intruders plant more charges along the wing routes of 2 parked KC-135s. A faint mechanical tick carries through the frozen air. Ochoa hesitates again. Rules of engagement forbid firing at confirmed friendlies. He waits for authorization that never comes. 2:55. The first KC-135 erupts in a bloom that throws chunks of aluminum 200 meters across the runway. The blast wave knocks down floodlights and shatters the glass panels of the main command post. Ward's headset fills with static. The computer screen shows 10 overlapping red circles. He orders Defensive Posture Alpha, but the defense AI has already initiated containment. Blast doors begin to slide shut, driven by hydraulic motors. The process takes exactly 23 seconds. Outside, rapid response teams scramble from the barracks, sprinting at 8 kilometers per hour across the icy ground. The doors close on them halfway. 2 soldiers dive under. One slips, trapped halfway as the seal clamps shut. They're locked outside. 2:56. The command center air fills with burnt plastic smell from overheated circuits. Data lag extends to 9 seconds. Ward can't reach the drone's sentries. Line of sight comms blocked by the snow curtain. The external feeds show flickering IR images of shapes moving along the flight line, attaching something under the remaining aircraft. The base AI misreads the repeated pattern as a maintenance subroutine. It broadcasts Technician Verified. Inside Hangar 1, Lemaire, bleeding from the head, crawls to the wall console and hits the manual override. The security shutters begin to descend. The attackers step back, watching. One signals with a raised fist. 2 more magnetic devices click onto the frame just as the doors seal. The explosion is instantaneous. 2:57. The concussion travels through the snow like a solid wave, shaking the tower. A section of the hangar roof lifts and collapses inward. Sensors record overpressure at 120 kilopascals. The blast triggers the automatic fire suppression lockout. All mounted weapons within 100 meters cease operation to prevent ammo cook-off. Sergeant Lee tries to bypass it, but the console demands biometric re-authentication. His gloves are frozen stiff. The reader fails to detect prints. The turrets remain idle. At this moment, there are still 19 intruders inside the perimeter. They're planting the last of their charges along the storage depot, their movements recorded by cameras that no longer transmit. 2:58. Over the fjord, the 6 snowmobiles idle near the coast, engines throttled low. The radar paints them as rescue units repositioning. In reality, they're waiting for extraction. The attackers inside the base move toward the access tunnel connecting the main runway to the supply pier. The snow now falls at 6 centimeters per hour, covering footprints within minutes. Inside the command post, oxygen filters cycle to low setting to reduce fire risk. That command also disables interior comms microphones. The defenders can see, but not speak. Ward tries to issue orders through text console. The message queue freezes at 70%. 2:59. A new heat bloom spikes in the southeast sector. One of the stored munitions bunkers ignites from secondary fire spread. The temperature rises by 200 degrees Celsius in 5 seconds. The automated defense suite reads it as catastrophic risk and shifts to full lockout. Every remaining weapon and turret freezes mid-rotation. Manual override would take 4 minutes. The intruders need less than 1. Physics is now in charge. Fire moves faster than command. The air temperature at the hangar wall climbs to 100 degrees, melting the frost off surveillance lenses. The attackers disappear into the glare. 3 o'clock. The last visible snowmobile speeds down the access tunnel at 70 kilometers per hour, heading toward the sea. Behind it, pressure sensors detect a sudden vacuum pulse, the final detonation wave pulling oxygen out of the tunnel. The overhead cameras show nothing but static. When the feed returns, the only moving lights are the reflection of burning fuel across the ice. Satellite Sentinel-9, orbiting at 500 kilometers altitude, captures a wide thermal image of Thule Air Base. 6 bright spots, each one the size of a football field. The signal is transmitted to NORAD 12 seconds later. The analysts mark it as possible multiple equipment failures. The misread survives for 3 more minutes. The blizzard starts to break. Wind speed drops from 70 knots to 20. Visibility opens to 200 meters. The defenders outside the sealed hangars regroup. Herrera from the gate lies unconscious, frost crusting his mask. 3 others dig through snowdrifts toward the smoldering fuel truck. No enemy remains visible. At 3:04, Ward finally receives partial comms through a secondary satellite link. He sends a short text. Perimeter breach, unknown status. He doesn't know that the intruders are already half a kilometer offshore, throttling down their snowmobiles onto a waiting hovercraft. 0306. Thermal sensors on the North Ridge record 6 hot plumes moving across the ice shelf at 45 knots, bearing 018. The AI cross-references coastal patrol schedules and again labels them as search and rescue. The radar operator, exhausted and half-blind from screen glare, accepts the tag. No alert is raised. The hovercraft engines rise in pitch, prop wash sending spirals of snow hundreds of meters high. Within 90 seconds, they vanish beyond the range ring. Inside the command center, the atmosphere stabilizes at -10. The internal fires fade down to black smoke. The base now reads secure in its own system log. 0309. Emergency teams from the auxiliary station 2 kilometers south finally arrive, driving through the thinning snow at 40 kilometers per hour. Their headlights pick up the remains of 2 KC-135s reduced to glowing ribs. Radiation alarms chirp from exposed materials in the hangar debris. The responders find Lemaire alive under a collapsed beam, pulse weak. He reports seeing maintenance suits, no faces. The description goes into the first report as friendly confusion. Nobody yet suspects external infiltration. 0315. Command reboots full network sync. Data lag returns to 1 second. The replay feed shows ghost images of snowmobiles inside the perimeter long after they're gone. Ward orders an all-hands count. 5 personnel missing, presumed trapped. The computer tallies them as casualties of explosion. Outside, air still smells of jet fuel and burnt aluminum. The Arctic sky starts to lighten, pale blue against the drifting smoke. Wind speed holds steady at 25 knots. Static still hisses through the comm channels. 0330. A reconnaissance drone launched from the auxiliary station climbs to 300 meters. Its camera stabilizes on a broad view of the base. 6 burn scars spread across the snow in near-perfect symmetry. One hangar roof lies folded like paper. From altitude, the pattern looks deliberate. The operator notes it. The system flags suspicious geometry. The first hint that the incident was not random failure arrives as a single frame in the feed. Within minutes, analysts at NORAD compare that geometry to known sabotage patterns from Eastern contractor groups operating in Syria. Similar spacing, similar sequencing, probability 87%, 4 o'clock. Satellite intercept picks up burst transmissions on VHF band 127.4. Source, Arctic Sea. Directional bearing suggests a fast vessel heading northeast at 60 knots. Call signs are scrambled, but include short bursts of Cyrillic-coded packets. The identification delay adds 5 more minutes. When the analysis returns, the vessel is already out of radar range. The file is tagged, likely Russian origin mercenary extraction. The discovery closes the data loop begun by a 7-second blackout. Every system in the chain worked exactly as designed, and every step helped the attack succeed. 4:30. Fires under control. Runway lights restored. Air still shimmers from residual heat. Recovery teams line up twisted fuselage sections, counting the loss. 2 F-35s destroyed, 2 KC-135s reduced to scrap. 1 hangar collapsed, fuel reserves depleted by 30%. The cold air turns the smoke into thin gray curtains that stretch across the horizon. The command tower's windows are coated in frost, reflecting back the flicker of emergency beacons. Ward stands at the console, headset around his neck. The computer displays the new base status. Operational integrity 41%, all systems nominal. The irony is mechanical. 0510, the first report reaches Washington. Explosion incident Thule base, no confirmed hostile forces. The freezing holds for 2 hours. Then satellite replay analysis detects spoofed IFF codes matching a Russian contractor encryption set from Murmansk. The event is reclassified. Probable foreign directed sabotage. Within the hour, Greenland command shifts to condition Bravo. Additional F-15S are rerouted from Lakenheath to fill the air gap. No trace of the raiders remains. 6 o'clock. Daylight finally reaches the base, a dim gray glow refracting off the ice. The temperature climbs to -27. Steam rises from the craters like breath from a sleeping animal. Engineers mark blast points with red flags at 20-meter intervals. The silence is absolute except for the crunch of boots. From the air, the base looks intact again. Buildings still stand, radar dishes still spin. But half its systems are blind, and half its confidence is gone. The question now circulating through the debrief channels is not who attacked, but how every sensor saw them and still called them friends.